Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Soul Family.
Hello, everyone.
It has been such a long time since we went live, and we are so excited to be coming back with such a beautiful video. And when I say beautiful, it's not just powerful, but this video really, really, really touches our hearts so much because today we're going to share one of the most beautiful, one of the biggest stories in the history of creation, in the history of our universe, and in the history of what has gone down in the last 250 billion years. And to be quite honest, I feel absolutely honored and humbled to even be sharing this story with you guys because of how beautiful, how deep, how much depth this story has. Many of you know that Siman and I have worked extensively with Archangel Metatron. Archangel Metatron comes in different forms, but we have worked with Lord Metatron, which who resides in the 12th dimension. 12th dimension?
Lord Metatron is from the 13th
13th
dimension, and
dimension.
his lower self is Archangel Metatron in the 12th dimension. And Metatron is very close to our hearts. He's the angel who trained us literally since the beginning of our ascension, since the beginning of our awakening.
He's our divine father, seriously.
And we have personally experienced Metatron's energy in our medicine ceremonies, which we used to host. EldoRa and I used to host medicine ceremonies, and many times Metatron would come in our field, like literally have a soul merger, and we would experience miracles. And the thing that stood out about Metatron was not all his powerful abilities, but the depth of his fatherly love for us and for humanity.
And I have never felt anything close to Metatron's love. Siman and I have worked with many angels. We've worked with Yeshua, who we love, who's one of our biggest guides. But Metatron has a very, very, very special place in our heart. And today, just before we were about to go live, I literally said to Metatron, I said, what an honor it is for us to be able to narrate this story. And I said, please channel through us so that we can do justice to how deep, how much depth there is in this story. So with that intention, let us start. Soul Family, we love you so much. We had an amazing event yesterday at the New Earth Mystery School. It was so, so, so good. It was so powerful. We talked about the origins of the soul. Siman and I went through lectures. We did a Q&A, and it was extremely potent and it was extremely powerful. And our audience had such powerful breakthroughs. And more and more and more of you are starting to join the New Earth Mystery School, and it makes our heart leap with joy because truly the New Earth Mystery School is a tool for our ascension. It's a tool for humanity to ascend. So for those of you who are still on your way checking it out, please do so on our website, which you guys already know by now, EldoRa and Siman.love. And we have 178 people in the house. I think it's such a good time to get started. I love you guys dearly. Keep a state of expansion during this video. And for those of you new to our channel, we'll just quickly introduce ourselves. We've had a lot of new people join in the recent past. My name is EldoRa. This is my beautiful partner, twin flame, soulmate, whatever. We don't try to box ourselves with any words, but Siman and I met 10 years ago. And ever since we met, literally, it's been awakening after awakening after awakening. And all of our gifts came online. Our powers came online. We started right away working with Metatron. He healed our light bodies, and he said to us that and I kept thinking, why is Metatron coming to heal us? Why is Metatron coming to do all of this for us? Like, why are we so lucky? And he said, because you have a very enormous role to play in the ascension of humanity. So this was 7, 8, 9 years ago.
And since then, we've been through a rapid ascension. We were guided to visit Mount Shasta in the second year of our awakening in 2016. And we got initiated into the Order of Melchizedek. And we were reminded that we have already been ascended in past lives. And we're one of the souls, like many souls that are here incarnated on Earth, to hold the highest frequencies of source, the highest frequencies of love that humanity is missing. So we are one of those 144,000 vibration frequency holders. We are representatives of the Order of the Blue Flame, which is a divine feminine order. And we're here to restore the balance that has been missing from the planet for so long.
And honestly, we've been on a journey of a lifetime. Seriously, from our awakening, which was not very long ago, 10 years ago, our gifts came online so beautifully, so powerfully. We work with Yeshua. Mainly, we work with Isis, who I embody, I channel very, very often. Like, she just comes in. I feel like she's the ascended master that my soul loves to work with the most. I also work with Sekhmet. Siman works with Metatron. Siman channels and embodies Metatron. And honestly, it's just such a privilege to be on this path. And ever since we started awakening, like all of these gifts are starting to come line, our psychic abilities, our quantum healing abilities, our magical. We've experienced some magical healings in many of the retreats and festivals that we've hosted all over the world. And to many of you, we may look like just sometimes people see us in the mall and say, you guys are real, you guys are real. And yes, we're very real and we're very ordinary people. And to all of you watching, I say to you, no matter how high you go in the spiritual ladder, always stay humble, always stay true to your intention of being here as an ambassador of the divine. Masters consider themselves servants of God. I say servant with a lot of love. Masters consider themselves divine vessels of God, like so that God, source, can channel through them. And we really just step out of the way and allow source to channel through. We submit our ego and we say, okay, what can we do next? Let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. And to be doing this video today it just shows me how far we have come in our own journey to be even talking to you guys about things like this. So in today's video, we're actually going to talk about, you guys have heard about the cabal, you've heard of the deep state, you've heard of all of the stuff that's going on planet Earth. But how did we get here? We've talked about many perspectives of how we got here. You guys know about loosh energy. And for those of you who don't, let me give you a quick crash course. So loosh energy is the energy that negative extraterrestrials or dark entities like to feed on because they are cut off from God's source. So to say that in another way, you're either connected to God, source, or you're cut off from God. And if you choose to cut yourself off from God due to your arrogance or due to your service to self mentality, like the deep state extraterrestrial beings on planet Earth, what happens is that they don't get energy from God's source to feed them, to feed their soul. So what they do, and I'm talking about our universe as well as other universes. So there's extraterrestrial beings in the entire universe, and we're going to go very deep, and you're going to be blown away by the story we're about to narrate. Yeah. So what happens is that all of these extraterrestrial dark negative beings are cut off from God's source. So who's going to feed them? How do they get food? So what they do is they create lower dimensional beings. The dark overlords create lower seventh dimensional AI beings. You can call them synthetic beings that really cannot ascend. We call them dark entities for lack of a better term. And these dark entities feed off loosh energy. And what is loosh energy? Energy that is created through human trauma, through human suffering, through human depression, through fighting, through stress. So what these dark lords have very cleverly done over the last several hundreds of thousands of years, if not higher, is that they've created an inverse matrix, which many of you are now aware of. And they have created this inverse matrix to create an artificial system of suffering and endless misery for human beings. And they use that energy that is created from this stress energy of everything. Everything that is in this artificial matrix creates stress energy. And these dark entities suck off these things. It's literally their job. These 70 beings, these astral beings, literally their job is to simply create this whirlwind of loosh to feed the overlords. And today we're going to go deep into how we got here and where we are today and where we are going. And do you want to say anything before we start off?
Yeah, for sure. So the title of today's video is The Fallen Consciousness, Metatronic Reversals, the Eye of Horus, and the mechanics behind the solar flash. So we're going to go deep into each of this, and bear in mind these are very complicated. Terms and terminologies and concepts that belong to the 12th dimension and higher. So we're doing our best to explain it in layman's terms. So this story actually spans 250 billion years. And we're gonna, our intention today is to lay it down step by step in a way that is easy to understand. And by the end of the video, you actually understand how these entities were created, how we got into this phantom matrix, what are the Metatronic reversals, and what is the significance of the Eye of Horus, and how the solar flash. Everybody talks about the solar flash, but what is the reasoning behind the solar flash? Why do we even need it? So these are very interesting topics, and let's dive right into it. So our universal matrix was created 250 billion years ago. Stephen Hawking estimated that our universe is about 8 billion years old. But in reality, the actual process of creation, before we even had physical form, the actual process of creation started from source 250 billion years ago. And this is not the only universe. There are millions and there are infinite number of universes. And one of the oldest universes is trillions of years old. The universe we live in has been inverted. It's been cut off from source, and we are in a phantom. We've been living in these last 250 billion years in a phantom matrix that was completely cut off from source. And we're going to explain how we got here. So our guides are encouraging us to share all this info to the public. All of this info was kind of shrouded and veiled from humanity, but now we're being shown that the official disclosure project has begun. That means that humanity is now aware and awake at a level of consciousness where they can begin to finally comprehend these concepts. Before, we were so cut off from the higher dimensions that we could not even comprehend anything other than our own 3D existence. And we were even denying that we were even denying the existence of other ET races in the universe. This universe is thriving with life, and it has such a rich galactic history that this history, the returning of history, is the most important project right now, according to the angelic realms, because the greatest weapon used against humanity was not a bomb. It was not a weapon of destruction. The greatest weapon used against humanity was to cut us off from our own galactic origins, was to make us feel that we are limited beings, that we don't have any history before 7,000 years ago, and that we merely emerged out of nothingness and we evolved, according to Darwin's theory, we just evolved out of apes, which is ridiculous.
And there have been many milestones in the story, like Buddha came, Jesus came, many ascended masters, many masters have walked this earth plane. They have all had a purpose in walking this earth plane. Isis was here, and they've all had one common goal: to come in here, to incarnate on a physical third dimensional planet and leave behind the codes that we call the Christ consciousness codes in the Christ consciousness grid of planet Earth, to make it easy for the awakening population, which is actually going to explode. We're being shown very clearly that the mass awakening of millions and millions and millions of starseeds that are just ripe. And we're talking about the new generation, the millennials. And Siman and I have been shown very clearly that we are the teachers of the millennials, these young, pure starseeds. And you'll see why in this video, because there are many young, very, very pure. These starseeds have the highest frequency. And when they wake up, they're going to look for a specific frequency, which Siman and I truly embody in our teachings. And so we're being told, get ready for the starseed millennials, because they are your audience. They are the ones we want to activate through your codes and through your teachings. And so it feels like, and also remember that the purity frequency that these starseeds embody, and why do they have such high purity? Because many of them have incarnated on this planet, and they're still very young. They're in their 20s, maybe very, very late 20s, maybe even super early 30s, but we're being shown more like 20 to 30 years old. And these millennials are super powerful, super pure, because they haven't yet been corrupted by Earth's karma. So if you are one such starseed, just know that we are ecstatic to connect with you guys. We're excited to connect with all of you because of how powerful these downloads are getting. We know that something powerful is happening based on how powerful downloads are getting.
Absolutely. So shall we jump right in?
Yes, let's do it. So sit back and enjoy the show. The story time begins. The EldoRa Siman story time begins.
I love diagrams, so I created
and it's
a
like
diagram
8 p.m.
for this.
here. Truly, we're having our ginger tea.
Yes. Can you guys see this clearly?
Mm-hmm.
I want to just take a few seconds so you can orient yourself with this diagram. This diagram basically explains the various dimensions that exist within this universe. And it's important to understand that this universe is it's the mental creation of God. So you can say the universe is like God having a dream. So the universe is an extension of God's mental plane. Beyond the 12th dimension, this is the 12th dimension, the Eye of Horus is above the 12th dimension and dimension 12.5. And beyond that is the realm of infinite space. So everything that exists within our local universe is represented here, from the first dimension all the way up to the 12th dimension. And the way God began this universe, this particular time-space matrix, is by creating fractals of itself, of themselves. God is not a he or a she being, it's a force that cannot be explained or even comprehended by the human mind. We can only know God through parables, but we can never know God with our own conscious mind because it is such an enormous being that we can never truly comprehend it. And everything in this universe is created according to the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. So you will see that each dimension is sort of a reflection of the higher dimension. So that's another way of saying that God had to split themselves into smaller fractals until they could create individual beings, because God is not a being, God is not an individual, God is a presence, it's a force. So God's primal desire to create this universe was to have an experiment in free will. So this universe, every universe has its own laws, and our particular universe is based on the law of one, and it's based on the principles of free will. What that means is that once you enter into this time-space matrix, the laws of free will dictate that even God, the creator, cannot intervene in our journey until we have completed all the steps and then merge back to source. So there's only one way to come in, and the only way to get out is to experience all the dimensions and then ascend back through all the dimensions back to source. So initially, when God wanted to create this universe, he created the founder race, which was a very powerful 12-dimensional beings. And there were 12 founders that created this universe. And Archangel Metatron was one of those 12 founders. So there we have the dimension 12. And Archangel Metatron created, it's like God created a fractal of himself, which continued to split itself apart until there was angels. And one of those angels of God is Archangel Metatron. And Metatron, along with his 11 other colleagues, was given the job to be the architect of everything that's below dimension 12. So they literally were given a conference table and said, get to work. You have to design the blueprint. You have to design the mechanics. You have to design the laws. And everything that is created below the 12th dimension is going to follow your laws.
And before we proceed, just to make sure you guys are fully caught up, it's super simple. All it is when Source first was, basically Source was having a boring moment, to simplify the story, and said, hey, I want to experience life. I want to create more and more and more universes. So this is how our universe was created. The 12th dimension was these beings where Archangel Metatron, which Siman just talked about. And these beings were given the task to further dilute their essence and go down and down and down and down to go down, to create angels, to grow down, to create various beings until you could go down to physicality. So far, that's all we've talked about.
Exactly. So the first thing, so imagine in the 12th dimension in the council table, there's a council of 12 that actually governs this entire universe. And all the important decisions that are made by this council of 12. So the first thing that the council of 12 decided to do is they don't want to do all the work themselves. So they have to create an army of beings that are lower fractals than 12D beings. So they created the 11th dimensional beings known as the Elohim. Now, we're simplifying a very complex model. So think of it like Elohim are like the children or an offspring of 12-dimensional founders. So they become the keepers of gate 11. So let me first explain the concept of gates. Each of these from 1 to 12 is a gate of ascension. And the ascension works with a predetermined framework, which means we have to we originate from gate 12, we dilute ourselves into 11D beings, we dilute ourselves into 10D beings, and so on until we go to the first dimension. And from the first dimension, we slowly go through all the stages of consciousness and evolve back into higher states of consciousness. Currently, Earth is here. Currently, the consciousness of humanity has evolved from the first level, the second level, up to the third level. And we're going back, we're doing a jump right now. So we're going to skip the fourth level because of some quantum mechanics. We're allowed to skip the fourth level and jump directly to the fifth level, which is called the dimensional gate of Tara. Tara is the higher ascended state of Earth. So when we ascend into new Earth, we are ascending into Tara, which is the dimensional consciousness of the 5D Earth. So think of Tara as the 5D new Earth. It's the same physical planet, but it's a different version of it. You'll see it's more like a heaven on earth version of Earth. So this is where we are now. But going back to the founders, what they did was they decided to create the Elohim. The Elohim were then tasked to create all the lower gates. So they created the gate 10, and so on. All the lower gates were created by the Elohim.
And just to add here that the founders were the guardians of gate 11.
No, founders, the D12 founders, where Metatron resided,
12.
was gate 12.
So the founders were the guardians of the highest gate of this universe, which is gate 12, the highest physical gate.
Yeah.
And then the Elohim that was one level down were the guardians of gate 11.
Exactly.
And so on.
And the way this matrix was structured was that Source would provide power to the entire universe through gate 12. So nothing could go in or out of this universe until they had ascended to gate 12. Okay, so that's like a control mechanism that keeps everything in order and balance.
So basically, gate 12 was like an umbrella feeding source energy to all of our universe.
Exactly.
So gate 12, which was the highest gate, which was governed by the council members, which we call the founders, was the highest gate. And that gate was the umbrella to feed in source energy, God energy, to the rest of our universe, to all of us, to all beings in this universe.
Right. So all of the 12 founders gave birth to huge families of Elohim. So each of these 12 founders gave birth to millions and millions of Elohim that each became 12 families of the Elohim. Archangel Metatron gave birth or spawned. It's not really birth. It's more like a fractal splitting itself into smaller fractals. And that smaller fractal becomes the 11D version of that higher fractal. So the fractals that were originating from Archangel Metatron were known as the Anu Elohim, And the Anu Elohim were given the responsibility to be the guardians of gate 11. So
Anu Elohim were more like angelic beings.
Yes.
They were 11D beings, and they were responsible for gate 11.
Yes.
And they reported to the founders,
Yeah.
who were the guardians of Gate 12. And Anu,
Yeah.
Elohim were all pure angelic beings. They were pure source frequency, just God consciousness.
In the beginning, this is all 250 billion years ago, before things went bad. And we're going to explain how all that happened. But in the beginning, we were all pure source consciousness, holding all of our frequency intact. So the 12D beings hold the 12D frequency of source. 11D beings can only hold the 11D frequencies of source. But the eventual goal is to keep raising up your consciousness one octave higher, because everything is ascending back to source. So the 11D Anu Elohim entered this universe through the cradle of Lyra. So here you can see the gate 11 is named the Lyra Avion Gate. And these 11D beings gave birth to the 10D beings in the Vega system. So this is the Lyra Vega system. So think of these as two neighboring star systems, and both are very powerful beings. These 10, 11, and 12 beings are based on liquid light biology. So this is you can think of them as physical beings, like you can see them if they can materialize into form. So everything in this universe can materialize into form, but there's octaves of light. And in the higher dimension, the higher biology is not based on physical matter. It's based on a biology of liquid light. So they're very much in connection with source. It's like they have oneness with source, and it's built into their system. But they can also be corrupted, as we can see. So what happened is millions of years went by and evolution is starting. These Lyrans are populating many planetary systems in the Lyra system, and the vegans are populating many planetary systems in the vegan system. And slowly they individuate themselves down and go to different star systems. The Sirius star system came into being. The Tara star system Tara was a planet, but it was also a star. Gaia was another higher octave of Tara. And many planets were seeded and occupied by these beings.
And until this point in the story, it's important to remember that there was no negativity.
It was all peace.
It was all peace. It was all complete oneness with God. This was the experiment. That's how it started. God just wanted to experience itself, but God also Source also gave all these beings free will. So until this point, there was nothing. There was no war. There was no tyranny in our universe. We're just talking about our universe here. So right now, everything is angelic frequencies. And now the story begins of how our universe was infiltrated by negative ET races from an other universe. And that's what we're going into now.
Yeah. So next part of the story involves the Black Cube AI system and the invasion of, it's kind of like inverted, but the invasion of this universe started by the Draco Reptilian. The Draco Reptilians were originated from an alternative universe that is 1 trillion years old. And in their universe, you can think of it like a virus, like an AI virus had taken over, and this universe was completely disconnected from source. And this AI became so powerful that it took over the whole universal matrix and infected it. And because it was cut off from source, all the beings that were inside that matrix lost their ability to ascend in that matrix. So the only way they were immortal beings, like some of these Draco reptilians have thousands, if not, they're immortal. They can maintain their bodies. They can take their consciousness. They have the technology because they are 11D consciousness. Even the Draco reptilians are 11D consciousness. They have the ability to take their consciousness upon the demise of their body and simply insert it into a new body. So they can constantly regenerate their bodies, but they don't have the light of source feeding their system. So the only way they can maintain their immortality is by taking energy from other sources.
Loosh energy.
Yes. So in their own system, because of wars and destructions and pillaging of planets in this older 1 trillion year old alternative time matrix, the Draco reptilians had exhausted all of their resources. So they came searching for other universes, and they entered this universe using a black cube AI technology. So think of the Draco reptilian infiltration, and they came directly into the cradle of Lyra. They came in, infiltrated the cradle of Lyra, and they also infiltrated Vega. So because this is such a long time frame, think of this next 8 million years since the Draco reptilians infiltrated our universe. Now they're in our time matrix because they've exhausted their own resources. They now started merging with the Lyran societies, and they started merging with the vegan societies. And they were not, their nature is that they don't just come and attack you. They first weaken their enemies by infiltrating their societies and merging with them. So they will come and live amongst the people, and they will mate with the people. And over evolutionary cycles of millions of years, actually it took 8 million years for them to corrupt the Vega star system, and a completely new race was born out of this interbreeding of DNA.
So basically, the vegans in this star system were very angelic, very peace-loving beings. And when the Draco reptilians infiltrated our universe through this black cube, they started. So the best way to think of it is, think of on Earth, you still see narcissistic behavior, right? So a narcissist will wine and dine you, and you'll fall in love, and then all of a sudden, 5 months into the relationship, all of this control tactics, control mechanisms start. So that's a very mild way of talking about how these negative ETs come in to our universe and then start meeting and mingling and then manipulating the society. So over 8 million years, basically this peace-loving, angelic consciousness, 10D beings that we call vegans, literally became the Draco vegans, meaning they literally became a reptilian race themselves over a span of 8 million years.
Yeah, and their pure God frequency became infiltrated and corrupted. So they became very aggressive beings. They developed this narcissist, control, dictatorial kind of attitude. And at this point, it's also important to cover something known as the Emerald Covenant. What is the Emerald Covenant? The Emerald Covenant was basically based on the law of one, which means I treat you how I would like to be treated, which means that we are all here creating this universe as brothers and sisters, and we all are humble messengers and servants of God, and we carry out divine will. In the beginning, there was no other thing other than carrying out the commands of God and living in peace. However, so basically the Emerald Covenant was keeping the peace in place.
So the Emerald Covenant was a universal covenant to protect, like it was a universal law, universal covenant that said peace shall reign. That was all that it said. And the founders in 12D were the custodians of that peace. The council members' job was to make sure that peace reigned. And that's that kind of also, you can relate that to the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Police, the Galactic Federation of Worlds. We call them the Peace Police. They're always in the skies, making sure there's peace. And which is why it's not easy for an extraterrestrial race to come in and invade a planet, because there's this Galactic Police orbiting Earth and other 3D planets. So it's a similar analogy to that.
So until 250 billion years ago, the Lyrans and the Vegans were living in peace, and they didn't even know about war. They didn't even have the technological systems to defend themselves. It was only when the Dracos infiltrated the vegan star system and they corrupted the DNA and created a vegan Draco hybrid through all this interbreeding over 8 million years. And now the war started. And not only did the war start, but these Draco reptilians brought in all their reinforcements from their alternative universe and started infecting our universe. And they brought these weapons of destruction that were kind of like trillions of years more advanced than anything that these beings have seen. These beings were peace-loving people. So think of like a peace-loving planet. Suddenly war starts. And entire planets got destroyed within days. Like they had the battleship capability to blow up an entire planet with their weapons of mass destruction. So,
and we also have to talk about how they had control of Gate 10.
Yeah. So because the vegans were the guardians of Gate 10, and over 8 million years they had become infiltrated, the Draco-reptilian vegans were now assumed the same position. So the Gate 10, the guardians of Gate 10, you can think of them as have become corrupted and have become fallen and have gone against the wishes of Source, the creator. So now the vegan war started, and these wars were initially just skirmishes amongst planets, but then it got worse and worse, and then more Dracos infiltrated the vegan and Lyran star system. And the way they operate is that they expand their horizons from one star system, and then they look to neighboring star systems and then try to occupy those planets. So that began the Lyran-Vegan Wars, which is a very famous concept in our galactic history. The Lyran-Vegan Wars lasted for tens of thousands of years. And this was a period where literally beings knew nothing but war. The Lyrans were very peace-loving people, but over years they had to develop defensive capability, but then they also developed offensive capability, and they were fully engaged in the karmic cycles of war. They were born into war, their generations were born into war, and for tens of thousands of years, imagine you're peace-loving people, but even peace-loving people become corrupted by war, because then there's you forget why you're fighting the war, and the only reason for existence is to destroy your enemy. So that destroyed the consciousness of the Lyrans, which were very pure source frequency 11D beings, became corrupted, and they became warmongers. And they thought that the only way for them to restore peace back in this galaxy is to destroy the vegans. And the vegans just wanted to destroy the Lyrans and take over the rest of the universe and feed off all these lower dimensions.
So basically, to go back to the start of the story, so now the 12D gate, so this gate number 12 is where the founders are. And now the 10 gate is corrupted, right, by the Draco reptilians. So the 10 gate is now corrupted because its custodians are negatively polarized. And now because they're negatively polarized and they've started like mingling with the gate 11 Anu Elohim beings, there's a war between those two. So both of these gates were now compromised in our universe.
Exactly. So after tens of thousands of years of war, these the D11, the dimensional 11 Anu Elohim, they petitioned the 12D founders, and they said, this is getting out of hand. We don't have any end in sight to these wars. This is an infiltration of our universe. We didn't sign up for this. But at the same time, they themselves had become corrupted but didn't realize it. And instead of asking for peace negotiations, they petitioned the 12D founder races to destroy the dimensional 10 Draco vegan race. So they said, you have to destroy them. That's the only way.
And that went against the Emerald Covenant.
So they were asking to break the Emerald Covenant, which kept the peace in this universe. And the 12D founder race literally looked at them and they said, we don't destroy anything.
And also they said, have you looked at how you've been behaving? Because
Exactly.
It's easy to go and say, hey, we want to destroy that planet, but you're also vibrating the same frequencies of war and revenge and all of that. So this is where the story turns. This is where the history turned. So now these 11D beings, which is the Anu Elohim, for the very first time, looked back at the 12D, the founders, the council, and said, you know what? We're now so powerful, we're not going to take this BS anymore. Either destroy these people, either destroy this 10D vegan, the vegan,
the Draco
vegans, or we will destroy you. So
or we will destroy them and you.
Or we will destroy them and you. So there was a threat made up from the so the Emerald Covenant was completely violated.
It was shattered.
It was completely shattered.
Right. So now these Anu Elohim are basically fallen Elohim. That's how they became the fallen Elohim. They became fallen creator gods, and this universe suddenly was put in a very dangerous position because now we have 11D beings. We have all these innocent races that have nothing to do with the war, but wars are slowly beginning to infiltrate the lower dimensions. And now these 11D beings are threatening to not only destroy the 10D beings, but they're saying we're also going to destroy the Gate 12 and take over this universe. And so the Draco-Reptilian plan is being carried out flawlessly. This is how they take over universes.
So then they created that reverse mechanics, quantum mechanics,
Yeah.
right?
So now the founders in Dimension 12 had a very serious situation on their hands. They came to the council table. Metatron was there, Archangel Michael was there, and many angelic, all the heavenly councils converged. Sanat Kumara was there, Ascended Masters.
Actually, before we go there, have we talked about how the Anu Elohim had the D11 coding?
Yeah.
So they could destroy. So the Anu Elohim, which is the 11D beings, had the D11 coding because they were guardians of Gate 11. So they could easily destroy the D.
Yeah. The Anu Elohim had the power to destroy lower dimensional beings than them, but they could not destroy higher dimensional beings.
Yes.
But they devised a plan which allowed them to destroy the Gate 12. We'll get into that later. But the first thing that the founders discussed, there was like a council meeting of all of the heavens, and they had a decision to make. And the decision was either allow these 11D beings to destroy Gate 12. If they allow the destruction of Gate 12, then they would take over this universe.
But also tell them how they could even destroy Gate 12 when Gate 12 was
Yeah,
higher.
I'll get into that. So if they allowed these 11D beings to destroy Gate 12, they would allow this whole universe to be taken over. But if these the 12D founders, the other choice was to defend Gate 12. Okay, so there are two choices: either allow the destruction of Gate 12, which cuts this whole universe off from source, because the only way to get source energy in is through Gate 12. If that's no longer there, then we pretty much have a phantom matrix that's cut off from source. The other option was to defend Gate 12, and they could easily defend Gate 12 because they had higher coding. If they defended Gate 12, they would it would cause a chain reaction. They would send the attack energy back to Gate 11, but it would also create a chain reaction of destruction that would propagate all the kind of like, you know, when an electric grid short circuits and it kind of propagates the short circuit through all the matrices of that electric grid. So if Gate 11 was destroyed, then it would lead to the destruction of all the dimensions below, and all these innocent races would be wiped out.
Exactly.
So the founders, out of their unconditional love, realized that they cannot allow the destruction of these innocent races because there's so many races in Sirius and Andromeda and Tara and Gaia on Earth. There was so much civilization, there was so much history that not only would they be destroyed, but all of the knowledge, all of the experience that we had gained over billions of years would be wiped out, and all of this would be sent back to source. The only upside of that would be that Gate 12 would be the only thing remaining and everything below it would be decimated. But then you could rebuild the matrix again from scratch, meaning wipe out Galactic, wipe out this whole universe's history and start from scratch. So
it was a very tough decision.
It was a very tough decision.
And Metatron felt responsible.
Metatron felt fully responsible, and
because he's the one who seeded the 11D Anu Elohim beings, who then got corrupted because of these negative extraterrestrials from the other universe. So Metatron said, oh my God, we need to fix this. So
imagine like you've given birth to 12 children. One of them becomes a bad seed and wants to destroy the family. So Metatron kind of became the main player in this universal drama at that point. And Metatron devised a plan with the higher councils of the angelic order to create an alternative plan that had a possibility to save this universe. So these 12D beings have a higher long-term vision. They have like a longer vision than these 11D beings. So they know what these 11D beings are capable of, how they're going to do it, and what the results and consequences of their actions would be. So they knew, the 12D founders knew, that the only way these 11D beings can destroy gate 12 is by creating a refraction matrix above gate 11 that would send back the source energy. So source energy was only supposed to come down one way. But if they inverted the quantum Metatronic mechanics that governs gate 11, so remember, these dimension 11 beings are kind of like offsprings of Metatron. So they know everything that Metatron knows. They know all the quantum science, all the theories, all the laws of physics that Metatron knows, but only up to dimensional 11. So they had enough knowledge and enough know-how to reverse the Metatronic quantum mechanics to not only receive the source energy, but create a refraction matrix by using Metatronic reversal technologies that they were developing to send back the source energy to gate 12, thereby creating a short circuit that would annihilate gate 12. So the 12D founders discussed this, and they said, if we annihilate gate 12, we save the universe. But then there's no way for all these beings to ascend back to source because there's no more gate 12 to ascend.
And it's super important to understand this point. If gate 12 was annihilated, remember what we said in the beginning, that gate 12 was the umbrella for source consciousness to stream in. If that's gone, it pretty much means that these negative reptilian beings have control over the entire universe, which means that eventually billions and billions and billions of years, loosh energy would be constantly created to support them. But eventually that would also end. It would have to wrap up because you cannot be cut off from source energy forever. So that pretty much meant the destruction of our universe.
Right. So it was an act of unconditional love, and the founders decided to save the universe, but they also had a plan. So Metatron created the plan and devised a higher technology, even higher than 12D, which goes into 12.5, and that brings us to the Eye of Horus. So the Eye of Horus was actually a new technology that had never been tried before. And all of the angelic councils were on the table. Even the founders of that Draco reptilian universe that had fallen, even those founders came, like the original creators or architects of that fallen universe came to the table. And they said, we're not sure if we should allow this or not because the risk is too high. If this plan fails, if the Eye of Horus plan fails, it could not only annihilate this universe, but also parallel universes.
Why is that?
Because all these universes are connected to each other. Nothing is separate from itself. And the same strategy that was used to take over this universe, if they take over, all they have to do is shift their resources and become more and more powerful and infiltrate other universes. So they had to put a stop to this. They could not allow this. So Metatron created the new technology along with higher dimensional beings from the 15th dimension. And this new technology was an eye. Instead of a gate, they created an eye that could never be destroyed. And this eye was called the Eye of Horus. And this was installed in D12.5, the dimension 12.5.
Above gate 12.
Above gate 12. And this was some Metatronic technologies were created as a fail-safe mechanism. So the Eye of Horus was connected to gate 12 in such a way that if and when gate 12 is decimated, the Eye of Horus comes online and starts feeding the dimension 15 source frequency back into this phantom matrix.
So gate 12 would be destroyed, and they would create the Eye of Horus in dimension 12.5. But this Eye of Horus would now feed in source energy and pull this energy from dimension 15, so that it's almost like a back gate entry. So imagine like a prison. Let's say you have like a whole bunch of prisoners captive, and you're trying to let them out of the back door, or you're trying to rescue them through a back door, because the front door has been destroyed. So think of how big, think of the enormity of this mission with this whole Eye of Horus. That's how the Eye of Horus was even created.
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. It was like, and because this was all happening above D12, these dimensional 11 beings had no idea, because they only have awareness till dimension 11. So they could easily do any mechanics they needed to do to preserve the universe by feeding source energy through the Eye of Horus and maintain the integrity of the system. But it would take a very long time and had never been tried before.
And guys, get this, from this Eye of Horus, so the plan was that they would continuously feed fractals of source energy for all of us, you, me, the rest of humanity, all of the ascending civilization, to somehow still, because otherwise, remember, the dark overlords are completely dark. They're negative extraterrestrials, completely cut off from God energy. So by having this Eye of Horus, humanity and our universe still stood a chance to ascend, because through the Eye of Horus, God frequencies, source frequencies, could still be sent as fractals to guide us back through all of the gates, all the way up to help us ascend.
Exactly. So now that if the Eye of Horus was missing and we were stuck in a phantom matrix, there would be no shot in hell for anyone to ascend. Literally, no shot in hell, because this would become a hell.
We would be a war zone right now.
Yeah, we would be a war zone. So what happens when you cut off from source? What actually happens is that the universe creates a black hole, and that black hole basically starts sucking all the energy of the universe until the universe collapses in on itself. This happens over billions of years, but it's only a matter of time that universe has to collapse. They knew the black hole would be created, but the Eye of Horus was designed in a way that would be the antidote to the black hole. So this, all the angelic councils came, and they had a lot of skepticism, and they eventually said,
you know what, Metatron, what are you thinking?
It's never been tried before, but you guys are crazy, but this is the only thing this is the only good suggestion that's on the table, so let's go for it. So all the founder races agreed. It came down to a vote, actually, and there was enough of a vote that was given to allow this to happen. So the Eye of Horus was created in advance before Gate 12 was even allowed to fall. So things rolled out as expected. These dimensional 11 beings created the backup generator, the fractal mechanics needed to reverse source energy, and the founders were expecting that to happen. The Gate 12 of Avion fell, and the Eye of Horus came online. Okay, so now we're in a phantom matrix with, you can say, this whole part missing.
It's like the main generator is missing.
Yeah, so Gate 12 is gone. That's what happened. And Eye of Horus came online and started supplying dimensional 12.5 source energy and encapsulated this universe, but also
in order to give this universe, the souls in this universe, a chance to exit the phantom matrix.
Yes. But also a black hole was created in the middle of the universe that was sucking the life force out of this entire universe. And the Black Cube AI system, which was the Antichrist system of the Draco reptilians, completely took over the governance of this universe. But because of the Eye of Horus, which these beings were not aware of, there were still a chance from approximately 250 billion years ago since this happened, the Eye of Horus came online, until 150 billion years ago. So over a span of 1 billion years since the Eye of Horus was created, many beings were actually allowed to ascend through the back door. All the innocent civilizations that were trapped, many of them were rescued and brought out of the matrix. But a lot of the wars and a lot of the infiltrations had gone deep into the dimensions and had infiltrated our DNA. So that brings us to the present day.
You want to talk about a little bit about the synthetic Markaba and the...
Yeah, exactly. So how were the entities created? What was the next step that these D11 beings carry out? So they're using now this phantom matrix based on Metatronic reversals, and everything below this they own. Okay, this whole universe is in their control. Now what they did is they devised with Metatronic reversals the technology of a synthetic Markaba. In a normal living being, we're coded so that there are 12 levels of our consciousness. What these fallen Elohim did with the assistance of advanced technologies from the Draco reptilians, they became dark overlords that feed off this universe. So it's like godlike beings feeding off everything else beneath them. And what they did was they had to create an army of synthetic beings that would suck out the loosh energy from all these lower dimensional planes and feed it to the dark overlords. So they created the entities, what we know today as interdimensional entities. And these are basically based on synthetic Markaba technology, which means they're just mechanical beings. They have biology, they have a Markaba, but in a normal, healthy living being that comes from source, the Markaba is based on love. This love is the core of all of our beings.
And 12 chakras.
Yeah. So we have 12 chakras, and because we have 12 chakras, we're able to ascend back to the 12th dimension and from there back to source. It doesn't stop at 12. 12 is just this universe. So these fallen Elohim created the technology of a synthetic Markaba that would only be able to operate by taking loosh energy from lower dimensional beings by keeping them in a state of fear. And that's what Earth is actually suffering from right now.
And they were only given 7 chakras,
yeah,
right?
So these synthetic Markaba beings were only given 7 chakras.
Meaning they had no shot at ascension.
They would never be able to ascend.
They could be immortal. They could live forever and ever and ever because they were artificial intelligence AI beings. They only had 7 chakras, and their only duty was, hey, you can live forever immortally, but constantly bring us loosh.
Exactly. And they also created many ET races. Like the Greys are basically genetic clones. They don't have any soul. They're just AI clones, and they carry out the will of the dark overlords. So all of these beings don't have any way to ascend. And this whole universe became infected by these dark beings. And many dimensional dark beings exist, all the way from the 11th dimension all the way down to 4th dimension, 4th density beings. These are all negative beings that feed off the energy of innocent souls that reside in this universe. So this was happening at the same time as the Eye of Horus, which was designed to accrete. So the way the Eye of Horus was working is, while all this negative takeover of the universe is taking place, the Eye of Horus is like, think of that like a drip. It's dripping source energy back into this universal matrix over billions of years. And the mechanics of the Eye of Horus was such that it would allow all the missing fractal pieces, because now they've removed the D12 coding from our universe. So all the missing pieces in the lower dimensions that were keeping us blocked from source were being fed piece by piece by the Eye of Horus. So now in the present day, since the creation of Eye of Horus, for the last 250 billion years, our universe has now finally come to the end of the cosmic cycle. So
as of 2012, you know how 2012 is this huge, humongous date? 2012 marks the completion of this 250 billion year experiment, which went terribly wrong, but now we're in the present day. So
yeah. So at this point, Source has decreed that this experiment is now coming to an end.
And no more duality will be
There's
allowed.
not going to be any more duality.
We don't need to learn from dark. We don't need to learn from these lessons from extreme poverty, extreme stress, extreme hardship, extreme violation of free will, narcissism. All of that is being wrapped up.
Exactly. And
because enough people have got these codes from the Eye of Horus, from D12.5, that the Ascension is now
a possibility.
They're showing me more solid, more concrete, meaning the risk factor is now behind us. So 2012 was a very, 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 very major milestone in our Ascension, which is why in 2012, many of you know, we literally left the old behind and walked into a new timeline. And you guys know that always physicality, energy is always first and physicality follows. So in 2012, Earth literally went in energetically into the fifth dimension. Humanity went energetically into the fifth dimension. And now we're playing catch up. We're already energetically there, and now we're physically catching up. So this is a very, very, very momentous occasion. And it talks about everything that Metatron and all these beautiful beings of light did to save our universe, to save us from these dark lords, to save humanity, and to save, honestly, not only our universe, but all universes.
Yeah. So while this Draco-reptilian infiltration was taking place, through the Eye of Horus, many beings, many light workers were also incarnating in this universe. And that's why a lot of us, the most innocent light workers, innocence is D12 coding. Unconditional love is D12 coding. That's why we say love is the highest frequency. We were cut off from that unconditional love frequency. That's why things went so bad. But all these avatars that came into our universe, like Jesus Christ, Buddha, Sanat Kumara, there's millions of ascended masters, Saint Germain, Isis, Thoth. All of these beings came directly from source. And many of us light workers were also here directly from source on assignment. Because we carry the unconditional love D12.5 coding and higher.
And how do you know if you carry this? Measure yourself. How pure is your innocence? How innocent are you? Innocence is truly the highest frequency. Many of us on earth get corrupted thinking, oh, we need to be smart and well presented and rich and well spoken and be a big leader. And honestly, right now it brings us back to the frequency of purity. And now it's making all sense why it's constantly, like throughout our YouTube channel, all we've been talking about is purity, purity of heart, purity of intention, purity of thought. That is the highest frequency. And many of us, Siman and I, carry the D12.5 coding. Merlin, Sistara, Nicole carry the D12.5 coding. And many of you in our soul family, not like, you guys can self-reflect. If you have that innocence and purity of heart, that deep purity, like you'll just know it. You carry that coding, my friends, and you're here to do enormous work, because just like the Eye of Horus was here to drip this D12.5 coding into the rest of humanity, think of all of us who carry that D12.5 coding as ambassadors of the divine. And why are we incarnated right now? Because right now truly is the most momentous occasion in the last 250 billion years. And we're finally at this juncture where we can not only transmit these energies, but we can also physically and tangibly see what's going on the planet as we enter the golden age, the age of Aquarius. And why are we masters coming back now to planet Earth? Like masters, ascended masters, or even beings of high purity come to Earth in major junctures. So many of us were here in Atlantis. Many of us were here during the times of Egypt. So we've come in major junctures, and now is the finale. It's the grand finale.
This is where the curtains close, and this is where we take a bow, because the whole reason that God, Source, Prime Creator allowed this 250 billion year experiment in duality was so that it would be ingrained in the beings, in the core DNA of all the beings of this universe. What are the results of playing with fire? You know how with your child, sometimes you have to let them get burnt so they don't learn not to play with fire. So this whole 250 billion year experiment in duality was God's way of saying, experience this once, because we are never going to allow this again.
And also learn from it.
Which
is why the dark are our biggest teachers. And we've come to Earth to learn from the dark, and now we have learned everything there is to learn from the dark, and now we are freeing ourselves and we're ascending. And also how
that brings us to the mechanics of the solar flash.
Ooh,
so
yes.
everybody talks about the solar flash, and
I
it's
forgot
going
about
to,
that.
Yeah, it's a big part. So everyone talks about the solar flash and how it's going to help Earth ascend, but many people don't realize that the solar flash is going to affect the entire universe. So the solar flash, the mechanics of the solar flash, the way it works is, I don't even have a diagram that big because the solar flash comes from D15 somewhere here, the 15th dimension of source. Source is infinite, so you can't say 15th dimension is the ultimate source. The 15th dimension is the highest level that you can reach in this universe. And at dimension 12, we become like very loving beings. You cannot ascend to dimension 12 until you hold unconditional love in your heart. So Source said that this experiment is coming to a close, and in 2012 we have entered a new cycle where this whole universe is now only going to be operating in the law of one. The Emerald Covenant is going to be put back in place, and all the beings that were creating negative wars and negative duality and all this karma, basically the law of karma dictates that no one can perform any action in this universe and not pay the results. So all of these beings that thought they are immortal and they can just feed off other souls for eternity, that's not true, because the end of the cycle means that all the actions have to be counted for, and eventually we all have to face the consequences of our action. So the way the mechanics of the solar flash works is that Source said, when Source makes a decision, it's like it overrides everything.
We need a drum roll.
So
drum roll.
So thank God for that we have some override. So Source decreed that there will be a flash of light sent at some point, and we're very close to that point. A flash of light will be sent from the 15th dimension of this universe that overrides all the lower coding, and it will affect all the dimensions. And basically, this flash of light is designed to annihilate any beings that are disconnected from Source and return them back to Source for, you can say judgment, you can say karmic reconciliation, whatever have you. But all the beings that are disconnected from Source, all the beings that have been preying and feeding off the energy of others, are going to be removed in an instant.
And not just on our planet, not just in this universe, but all. Am I right? All universes. All universes.
So no, just this universe.
This universe.
Yeah,
the
I don't
solar
know
flash?
about other universes.
So the solar flash. Why do I feel it's? Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
Because we thought it was just this galaxy, but it's not just this galaxy, but all the galaxies.
So the solar flash, get this, once the solar flash happens, which is why we're all preparing for the solar flash, and we've got so many downloads about the solar flash, and many are on this channel from time to time. And even the channeling that you did, the voice of God channeling, Siman had no idea what the guides would talk about, and they started talking about the solar flash.
You can catch that on our channel.
Which means it's imminent. So the solar flash, the purpose of the solar flash is to literally come in now that this 250 billion year old experiment in duality is being wrapped up. The solar flash is going to come in and literally nuke anything not of the light in our entire universe. So there's going to be no more reptilians. There's going to be no more loosh energy farming. There's going to be no more of any of that stuff. We are true. And that's why you see how that's why we say we're entering the golden age. We're entering the age of Aquarius. And many of us know that it's a super momentous occasion to be alive at this time, but we don't know the depth and the enormity of it. And I'm hoping that exactly time to celebrate. And if you have any questions, you want to take some questions?
Sure.
If you guys have any questions, comment. We'll take a couple of questions.
Yeah. So this is not to say that the solar flash is like a silver bullet that will just help you ascend without you doing your homework. So that's a very important point to understand, that although before it was very hard to ascend because we have like these enormous godlike beings stopping our ascension and feeding off our energy and constantly keeping us trapped in loops of karma. But what happens is that once these beings are removed from our existence, we still have to do the work. So God would never take away our lessons. So if you still have some missing fractals, if you still have some lessons that you need to learn, if you still feel that you're not fully harmonized, all of that evolution will continue. You understand? This age of Aquarius, actually, we're in the pre-age of Aquarius. We're in Aquarius rising for the next 300 years. Age of Aquarius actually starts in the year 2400 or thereabouts. So we have about 200-300 years to finish our homework.
So there's a couple of questions I saw. One is, some people are saying the solar flash will happen after 50 years. Will it happen sooner? And another one is, what will happen to our children? Will they be protected? So what will happen to our children? Will they be protected is not even a question, because nothing will happen to your children. In fact, the children hold the keys. The children hold the most important keys of this ascension. You know why? Many of the children that are currently incarnated, even if they're completely asleep, are time coded to activate and awaken, some before the solar flash, some during the solar flash, because they play such a pivotal role in the ascension of humanity. So it's not even a question that needs to be asked or computed, because nothing will happen. So that takes us back to the theory of, oh, some will ascend and some will go somewhere to the fifth dimension and something will happen. So basically, just have complete peace that there is no such concept that you'll be alienated from your kids in any way. The only beings that will be eradicated from this universe are the beings that are negatively polarized. And regarding the other question about when will it happen, the way, when I tune into my guidance, when I tune into every stream of information, any download that I've received in the last 2 to 3 years, the solar flash is imminent. That's the only truth that vibrates as truth in my being. Guides will never tell you when it's going to happen, ever. But you know, if you look back, many people think, oh my God, there's going to be this one solar flash one day and suddenly everything will change. Is that true? Actually, yes, it is true. But at the same time, there are many minor solar flashes, baby solar flashes that are already happening, which is why you see so much density come up. So much. It's the final exams, and you have, like, let's say, a short window to get all your ego harmonization, all your gratitude, all your reverence lessons, all your respect, all your humility, all of your lessons. Which is why, if you guys are going through extreme hardship, it just means you're in that window before the solar flash. You're in this window before the final ascension, the final exam. So embrace your lessons. Don't reject them. Don't judge them. Don't feel like, oh my God, Earth is so hard. This is how I think of it. This is how Siman and I have always taught for you guys to think of these things. Rejoice. When you have lessons, it means you are accelerating through your ascension. And once you get into 5D, you won't have so much polarity anymore. Once after the solar flash, it won't be, you can't learn from narcissistic behavior. You can't learn from your controlling birth families. You can't learn from your narcissistic employers. So make the best use of this time, my friends, because it's such a beautiful gift.
And we've been given a period of grace from 2012 to 2032. We're in a period of accelerated growth and evolution. So the solar flash can happen anytime. Our guides will never give us a date, because technically no one can predict. Even the angels cannot predict when is the right time for the solar flash. That's why anyone who says it will happen by this date, I would write that off, because no one knows. However, having said that, from 2012 to 2032 is the 20-year window we were given to ascend and get all our affairs in order. What that really means is that not everyone's going to make it. It means that your ascension's eventually guaranteed, but it may not be guaranteed in this cycle. So another very powerful piece of advice I can give you is that in this 20-year period from 2012 to 2032, any effort we make towards our ascension is rewarded 100-folds. That's why EldoRa and I, because we know this, because we understand this at a deep soul level, we've made our life mission to focus on our ascension and keep our purity intact. Anytime we see ego creeping up in each other or ourselves, we put a microscope and we go into our own laboratory and we extract those components of our ego and we understand them. So right now, my biggest piece of advice to everyone is focus on your ascension, focus on your ego lessons, and ask for angelic assistance because it will be given in abundance. Once the solar flash occurs, it's kind of like a cutoff point. It doesn't mean whatever lessons are remaining are going to be wiped off. For some people, that's going to be true, because if you've done most of your homework, then there is God's grace and the rest of your lessons are wiped off. But if you're kind of like at that 50, anyone that holds less than 50% frequency of light or service to others will not ascend. What that means is that they won't be punished, but they'll have to go to another 3D planet in this universe and face those same lessons over thousands of years or however long they need.
Yeah.
And then ascend.
And why is this? It's not a punishment. It's more because your soul, in your soul's evolution, it's like you can't go from kindergarten to grade 12. You have to pass grade 1 and grade 2. At most, you can skip grade 3 and then you go to grade 4. You have to get all of the lessons. And I don't mean grade literally, because I don't even believe in the Earth educational system. But you can't just jump up and say, okay, I don't know any math and tomorrow I'll just figure out how to do it. You have to go through the steps. And one other thing is so Siman and I, this is something we have not yet shared, but we've been endowed, we've been given this very divine assignment to care for the D12 frequency holders, which is why we've actually invited 3 of our Office of Christ team, Sistara, Merlin, and Nicole, to join us in Croatia and then travel with us. And of course, they are the ones who created this timeline because they wanted it so bad. We just love each other so much. But it's all starting to make sense because we are the keepers of this flame of purity. We are the guardians of this flame of purity. Siman and I both are representatives of Divine Mother on planet Earth. We're doing a very, very, very important mission. We're we always keep everything in our life is basically 100% aligned with the ascension of our ascension and the ascension of humanity. Many of you know our story where we were in Egypt as Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Nicole, Merlin, and Sistara were all with us in various past lives. Nicole was our daughter in the Nefertiti and Akhenaten timelines. It's just blowing our mind with all these remembrances that we're having. And it's not just shoo-shoo, la-la, woo-woo remembrances. It's so tangible.
It's a soul remembrance that cannot be denied.
You can't miss it. Like when we're together, Sistara, Nicole, the 5 of us, it is absolutely like, and so basically what we're being given right now is this divine mission of embodying, because Siman and I are very much embodied in the 5D frequencies, and this is severely lacking on planet Earth. So we are the pioneers in this, holding this 5D frequency flame in our hearts, in our light bodies, and our Markabas. So what we're doing right now is now we're the 2 of us, now we're the 5 of us. And the 5 of us, we're right now working on activating these kids to really, really, really go through their ascension very fast. And they're already keepers of these D12 coding. And their purity, their innocence matches our purity and our innocence, which is why the 5 of us, are a frequential match to one another. Yeah. It's simply put. So right now, we have just started a very, 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 very new, exciting, and very humbling divine mission of being the guardians of this frequency, because we are truly here as the guardians of the flame of purity. And these are all downloads that we received after landing in Croatia. We've shared this just with the kids. We call them kids, children, whatever. I know some people don't like it when we call them children. We bite their cheeks, we kiss them, we hug them.
It's just an expression of love.
We love the fuck out of them, loosen up, put your hair down. We will always call them children, whether you like it or not. But my point is, this is such a divine mission that we're just waiting for next steps, because it's huger and more enormous and more massive than we can possibly comprehend in our in our logical minds. Like all our past life memories are coming. Like when Merlin looks at me, I have a video that I'll put up. When Merlin looks at me, you'll get an activation. Like it's like the deepest bond of a mother and a son that you can't really make. Like my own birth son never looked at me like that. I was
looking at a video of her hugging Merlin when she met him at the airport when we landed in Croatia. And I was bawling for like 10 minutes straight just looking at that video.
I'm very powerful.
The purity of that love is the reason we're here.
And same with Sistara and Nicole. My God, it's extremely deep. So
our divine mission right now is to carry that pure blueprint and create that framework for New Earth so the rest of humanity can follow in these footsteps.
Yes. We hope you loved this video, Soul Family. We love you guys so much. We absolutely love you. We have so many exciting videos for you. And you know what? The 5D family, actually, we're going to start putting up new. So part of the download we're receiving is to now start sharing these videos of the children. And I have a feeling, we don't have the full download yet, but I have a feeling that the videos that we share of the children and all of our journeys are going to be an instrument, a broadcasting frequency for other star seeds, for other millennial star seeds to start absorbing these frequencies. So stay tuned because we have so much coming. We have so much coming.
Oh, and also I wanted to remind everyone that on October 30th is our next New Earth Mystery School event, and we're going to be teaching the secrets of angel magic, which is a very powerful modality that we have been using. We actually, you know how there's black magic? We are practitioners and mage experts of white magic, of light magic.
And we were guided to teach this on Samhain because Samhain, Halloween, so Halloween has also been reverse corrupted. So why is Halloween corrupted? Think of it. Halloween, basically Samhain is the day when the veil is the thinnest. And what do? We send our children to go trick or treating, which is a very, think about it. You're going to a stranger's house, you're knocking on the door and you're opening your bag and you're taking candy and you're going back. So the children are getting a rush and it's all reverse engineered. There's nothing divine about it. So on Samhain, the veil is actually very thin. So you have more access to the higher realms. So we're going to be doing an angel magic ceremony. And not just that, we're going to be having slides and whatnot to teach you guys and empower you guys to do this ceremony and how to do it in the proper way, to call in the angels, to do the ceremony. And really, as long as you're of good of heart and you got pure intentions and you're just asking about your ascension and activating your abundance and your joy and your love and your finding your divine bliss, your divine soulmate, whatever the case may be, these are all pure intentions. And the angels will come through. They come through for us. So we're super excited.
And you can sign up for the New Earth Mystery School at EldoRa-Siman.love. We put our website in the description part of the YouTube video and in all our posts. So go to EldoRa-Siman.love and sign up. Is this for silver members or gold?
This one is for gold only. So it's an $88 membership.
Silver membership is for $44 and gold is $88. And this particular event, Angel Magic, is for gold members only. And
but silvers, you guys can upgrade. Just upgrade. It's so worth it. And also the next one is on November 11th. So 11/11 portal, we're bringing in a guest speaker who's amazing. And we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. Overcoming self-sabotage is the next theme. And the next one. He's the most excited for that.
I got contacted by Ascended Master Thought Hermes. It was like a mind-blowing experience. And I'm actually going to share the message that I recorded minutes after. I'm going to put that on YouTube sometime this week.
He basically left a voice message for the Office of Christ. And we're going to, it was so raw.
Oh my God.
We're going to put that up on YouTube for you guys.
It was like a shattering experience for me. I had kind of like a soul merger with a sixth dimensional higher self as well. And
he had a soul merger with Thought.
And Thought, a sixth dimensional higher version of myself that was from the family of Thought.
Yeah.
And I cannot explain it in words. But Thought has been in very direct contact with me recently and has been giving me the curriculum and the secrets of the Hermetic principles, which is the basis of all magic that used to be practiced in Egypt. And this is not just for esoteric purposes. This is magic principles that you can apply in daily life to create the life you desire.
Yes.
And this is the knowledge that was held back for thousands of years to keep humanity bogged down in the third dimension.
Everything, the gates are being opened up,
all
you guys.
All the floodgates of knowledge are now opening.
And just so you know, New Earth Mystery School is not just some shishi foo-foo school that teaches you stuff that flies over your head and where you're bored and its spirituality is boring. It's the opposite of that. Siman and I, we want to have fun in everything we do. We embody fun in every single event, every single Zoom workshop. We start our events dancing, literally, to house music. So if you're not yet a member of the Mystery School, I'm telling you, maybe you have cognitive dissonance. Maybe you have something blocking you, some distraction. Get on it, guys. We are having the time of our lives and our events are just getting started and they're only getting better and better and better based on the downloads that are coming in. It's $88 a month. And you pretty much get a healing from us, you get coaching from us, you get energy transmissions from us, you get slides and lectures about your ascension. And these are not slides and lectures that you can just go out and get for $20. The kind of content that we provide, think of it as if you had to buy this content and we were offering a course, you would be paying $555 or $1,111. We're trying to create a model because we're working with the Ascended Masters, and our only intention is to really give everything to people who are serious. So not people who are just coming with popcorn on YouTube saying, okay, we'll just watch something for free, but who have the discipline to say, we're putting down some money, we're putting down an investment in ourselves, and we are worth it. So we need a certain level of spiritual acuity before you can even come and sit in our classroom. And I say this with all my love. So it's a vibrational thing. We attract spiritual seekers that are of the purest frequency of learning, growing, and expansion, who can submit their ego, who can surrender their ego, who can let go of all their distractions and say, I am a seeker of the divine light. I am here to ascend, and nothing, and I mean nothing, is more important to me than that. If you are that person, then you are a vibrational match to the New Earth Mystery School, and we welcome you with all our heart.
And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner on your journey, if you're a 16-year-old starseed or a 65-year-old starseed, as long as you have a thirst for knowledge, you're going to fit right in. We have a very loving community.
Oh.
Anyone who joins our New Earth Mystery School also gets access to our Discord community, which is a very high frequency community. People are having regular gatherings, Zoom calls, they're supporting each other, they're healing each other, they're exchanging ideas, and it's a very thriving community.
It's a hive mind coming online.
And yeah, so don't miss out. And the kind of tips we're teaching in these classes are designed, our guides are very practical. So they teach principles that you can apply in your daily life to create the life you desire. And these are principles that humanity needs in order to ascend.
We love you, Soul Family. Have an amazing time, and we will see you soon. Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.